You don't need to have it all figured out, but you do need to stop pretending you're fine. You feel lost. Good. That means you're awake. Because the real danger isn't being lost. It's numbing yourself into thinking this is just how life is now. Dragging yourself through the motions, smiling when you want to scream, telling everyone you're just tired when what you really mean is, I don't even recognize myself anymore. Let's be honest. This isn't about a bad day or a rough week. This is about that quiet voice in your chest that says something's not right. That ache you can't explain, that weight you carry even when everything around you looks fine. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You don't get lost all at once. It happens in pieces. You stop showing up for yourself. You stop trusting your gut. You trade your truth for approval, your voice for peace, and your dreams for a checklist. And one day, you wake up wondering, how the hell did I get here? But listen to me. This moment, right now, is not your breaking point. It's your turning point. You're not broken. You're buried under years of people pleasing, under expectations that were never yours. Under the pressure to be perfect, likable, strong, silent, small. But here's what they never told you can rise. And rising doesn't mean fixing everything overnight. It means choosing just for today to stop abandoning yourself. It means asking better questions, not what do they want from me, but what do I need, not how do I keep everyone happy, but what makes me come alive. You were not born to live on autopilot. You were not born to settle for survival. You were born to stand in your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees buckle, even if no one claps, because your clarity is on the other side of your courage, and your way back begins the moment you stop running from the truth of who you are. So if you're feeling lost right now, good. That means something in you is still fighting. Something in you refuses to disappear. Something in you knows this is not the end. This is the call to begin again. You don't need to have it all figured out, but you do need to stop pretending you're fine. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that struggle is shameful, that confusion is weakness, that admitting we're lost is somehow admitting defeat. So we hide behind busy schedules, behind fake smiles, behind phrases like I'm just tired or I'm just stressed. We build walls around our uncertainty because somewhere deep down we learned that vulnerability is dangerous. But the truth is, feeling lost isn't a sign that you're failing. Feeling lost is a sign that you're still searching for something real. It's the heartbeat of a soul that refuses to settle. It's not the enemy. It's the invitation. The real danger isn't the moment you realize you're lost. It's the slow, quiet drift away from yourself that you never even notice happening. It's in the thousands of tiny moments when you silence your voice to keep the peace. When you say yes even though everything inside you is screaming no. When you tell yourself, this is just the way life is, even as you feel your own spirit shrinking. It doesn't happen in a single explosion. It happens drip by drip, compromise by compromise, until one day you look in the mirror and you can't recognize the person staring back. You don't lose yourself by accident. You lose yourself by surrendering small parts of your truth, day after day, in exchange for approval, security, belonging. And you wake up not knowing where you went. But being lost doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're buried under expectations that were never yours to carry, buried under the weight of what you thought you had to be, buried under the noise of a world that keeps telling you to be smaller, quieter, more palatable. Being lost is the evidence that there's still a self inside you worth finding. It's the flicker of a flame that refuses to go out, no matter how many storms you've walked through. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not a lost cause. You are still here. And the fact that you feel this ache at all means there is still a map written on your bones, still a compass buried in your chest, still a way back to yourself. The moment you stop numbing, stop distracting, stop apologizing for feeling lost, that's the moment everything begins to shift. It won't be clean, it won't be pretty, but it will be real, and real is what your soul is starving for. Not perfection, not performance, not another checklist to prove your worth. What you need is permission to be exactly where you are, without shame, to tell the unvarnished truth about what hurts, about what's missing, about what you're longing for. Because it's only when we tell the truth about where we are that we can start moving toward where we're meant to be. Healing doesn't happen in the pretending. It happens in the raw, messy, holy honesty of admitting, I'm not okay, and that's okay. Choosing yourself, especially when you feel lost, is the most radical thing you can do. It means turning toward your own heart instead of away from it. It means getting quiet enough to hear your own voice again, even when the world is screaming 1,000 other things at you. It means asking better questions. Not what do they expect from me, but what do I expect from myself? And not how do I keep everyone comfortable, but what would make me come alive? It means understanding that you are not responsible for living someone else's dream. You are not here to be what the world wants. You are here to become who you already are, underneath all the layers you've been forced to wear. There is a deeper intelligence inside you that has never been lost, even when you couldn't feel it. It's the part of you that knows what you love without being told, the part that aches when you betray yourself, even in small ways, the part that whispers, this isn't it, even when the world is cheering you on for things that hollow you out. Trust that part, reclaim that part, because no amount of external success, no number of followers, no paycheck, no approval can ever fill the hole that's left when you abandon your own soul. The path home isn't found by running faster or trying harder. It's found by slowing down enough to listen to what you've been silencing for far too long. This journey back to yourself will not be linear. It won't be logical. It will require you to unlearn almost everything you thought you had to be. It will require you to sit in discomfort longer than you think you can bear. It will ask you to grieve the versions of you that survived but never truly lived. And it will demand a kind of courage that has nothing to do with being fearless and everything to do with choosing yourself even when you're terrified. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about peeling back everything you're not, to remember who you were before the world told you who you should be. Feeling lost isn't the problem. Staying lost is. And the first step out is to refuse to lie to yourself 1 second longer. You don't need to have it all figured out, but you do need to stop pretending you're fine. That mask you keep wearing, the one that says, I've got this. When you're quietly unraveling inside, it's heavy, isn't it? Exhausting. You keep showing up, smiling, checking the boxes, handling responsibilities like clockwork, but there's a numbness beneath it all, a silent ache you can't quite name. You're not lazy, you're not weak, you're not dramatic. You're tired of faking okay. You're tired of living a life that doesn't feel like yours, and deep down you know it. You know you're drifting, disconnected not just from people, but from yourself. You're not lost because you failed. You're lost because you've outgrown the life you were told would make you happy. But no one taught you what to do next. Most people don't get lost all at once. It doesn't come with fireworks or warning signs. It comes quietly. It comes the moment you say yes when you mean no. The moment you ignore your gut because someone else's approval feels more urgent than your own peace. It comes when you start dimming your light to make others more comfortable. When you decide it's easier to be who they expect than risk being who you really are. And day by day, you abandon your own truth. A little at a time, you become what they need, what they like, what they reward. And then one day, you can't find the thread that leads back to your own soul. You keep moving, but nothing feels real. You speak, but your words don't carry weight. You look at your life and wonder, who built this version of me, and why did I let them? But here's the thing no one tells you. Feeling lost doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're waking up. Waking up to the reality that what you've been tolerating is no longer sustainable. Waking up to the fact that you've been living someone else's script, and your soul is starving for something real. That sense of being lost, it's not failure. It's the start of truth. It's the crack in the illusion. It's the moment your body and your spirit refuse to keep playing along. You're not falling apart. You're shedding. shedding the expectations, the masks, the noise, shedding everything that was never really you. And it's terrifying because what lies beneath might be unfamiliar, but it's also yours, it's you, and for the first time you have a choice to turn back and pretend, or to go deeper and rediscover the parts of yourself that never stopped burning. That journey inward is uncomfortable, because for so long you've been taught to measure your worth by how much you produce, how well you perform, how seamlessly you fit in. But none of those things ever told the truth about who you are. That sense of emptiness you feel, that's your soul reminding you it was never about success, status, or stability. It was about coming alive. It was about meaning. And when you trade your authenticity for approval, you can gain the whole world and still feel like you're disappearing. No external validation will quiet the voice inside that knows when you're out of alignment. You can only ignore it for so long before it demands your attention. And this moment, right now, is that demand. It's not asking for answers. It's asking for honesty. The first step out of this fog is not a dramatic breakthrough. It's the radical, uncomfortable act of being honest with yourself. Honest about what hurts. About what's missing. About the dreams you buried to be practical. About the relationships that drain you, the work that numbs you, the life that feels more like a performance than a reflection. It's asking yourself questions you've been avoiding. What do I want? What do I believe in? What would it look like to stop surviving and start living? And it's being willing to hear the answers, even if they shake the foundation you've built, because you can't heal what you won't name. You can't change what you won't confront, and you can't come home to yourself if you keep abandoning your truth to make others comfortable. And when that truth starts to surface, when those long, silenced parts of you begin to speak, you'll feel fear. That's normal. You've spent so long performing certainty that facing uncertainty will feel like a threat. But growth doesn't come wrapped in clarity. It comes wrapped in discomfort, in messiness, in the courage to sit in the in-between without rushing to escape it. This is where transformation lives, in the quiet chaos of becoming, in the raw honesty of saying, I don't know who I am right now, but I'm willing to find out. That's what courage looks like. Not confidence, not control, but presence. The willingness to stay with yourself in the unknown, to hold space for your own unfolding. And it starts by saying, this version of my life may have kept me safe, but it no longer fits. So if you feel lost, it's because some part of you is still alive. Still questioning, still dreaming, still believing that life can be more than just getting by. That's not weakness. It's wisdom, it's strength, and it means you're not done yet. It means you're not willing to settle for a life that doesn't reflect your truth. Because deep down, you know, this isn't all there is. You weren't meant to blend in. You weren't built for silence. You weren't born to play small. And the longer you pretend this is fine, the further you drift from the fire inside you that's still burning, still waiting, still ready to lead you home. The real danger isn't the moment you realize you're lost. It's the slow, quiet drift away from yourself that you never even notice happening. It doesn't happen in one dramatic event, one explosion, one single bad decision. It happens in the thousands of little, almost imperceptible moments when you choose comfort over authenticity, when you choose convenience over connection, when you choose survival over thriving. It's in the compromise of your truth that the distance grows between who you are and who you've become. And the longer you keep up the act, the further you slip into a version of yourself that feels more like a stranger than a friend. It's a subtle erosion, a constant erosion, until one day you wake up and realize you don't recognize the life you're living. At first, it feels like nothing has changed. You get up, you go through the motions, you check off the tasks. Life goes on. But with every day that passes, a little part of your heart begins to numb. A little piece of your spirit is tucked away. You stop listening to your own needs because they always feel too big, too loud, too inconvenient. You convince yourself that pushing through, ignoring that inner voice, and doing the right thing is what makes you strong. And maybe at first it does. Maybe in the beginning, it feels like strength to keep going, to put others before yourself, to keep the peace even when your own soul is in turmoil. But that strength comes at a cost. That kind of survival mode, that kind of living for everyone else, chips away at your own sense of self. The more you give, the less of yourself you have left to give. And one day, you realize you're running on empty, and you can't even remember the last time you asked, "What do I need?" You think you're doing what you're supposed to do, working hard, being responsible, making everyone else happy, but inside, something doesn't feel right. The problem isn't that you're weak. The problem is that you've allowed your inner compass to rust over. You've ignored the calls of your intuition for so long that you've forgotten what it sounds like. You've traded your inner voice for the voices of others, their expectations, their demands, their version of success. And as you've followed those voices, you've strayed further from your own truth. It's not that you've been wrong, it's that you've been disconnected. Disconnected from what you truly desire, from what you truly believe, from what would make you come alive. And the more disconnected you become, the less you are able to hear that quiet whisper from within that says, "This isn't you. This isn't the life you were meant for." At first, you might not even notice how far you've strayed. It happens gradually. The compromises begin small, canceling plans because it's easier to stay home, giving in to peer pressure because it feels easier than standing up for yourself, making excuses because admitting the truth feels too risky. You justify it all because, well, life is complicated. You're just trying to get by, right? But over time, those small decisions start to pile up. They add weight to your soul, a weight that gets harder and harder to shake off. You may even begin to tell yourself that this is just the way things are, that everyone feels this way, that being disconnected is a normal part of life. You begin to believe the lie that it's okay to ignore your needs, your dreams, your authenticity. And the more you accept this lie, the more you drift. And then, one day, it's not just a slight disconnect, it's a full-blown crisis of identity. You don't know who you are anymore. You've lost your sense of direction because you've spent so long following everyone else. What makes it even harder to face is that by the time you realize you're lost, the world around you is still moving at full speed. People will keep asking you to show up for them, keep expecting you to play the role they've cast you in. And the pressure to keep going, to keep pretending, becomes unbearable. You feel as though you've become a character in a story you never signed up for, one that has you playing a part that drains you. And the longer you stay in that role, the more you forget who you really are. You lose track of the things that once lit you up, the passions that once set your soul on fire, the simple joys that made life feel like an adventure. You stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "What do they need from me?" You stop living on your terms and start living on theirs. And little by little, you begin to disappear. The insidious thing about losing yourself this way is that it doesn't feel like loss at first. It feels like responsibility. It feels like the right thing to do. You tell yourself you're just being selfless, just being responsible, just trying to make life work. And in doing so, you keep pushing your own truth further and further into the background. But when you constantly put yourself last, you stop taking care of yourself. You stop checking in with what you need, and eventually, you forget that you need anything at all. You think your value lies in how much you can give, how well you can perform, how much you can endure. But the truth is, your value lies in who you are, not in what you do or how much you sacrifice. And when you stop honoring your own needs, you lose track of that truth. So, how do you find your way back when it feels like you've lost everything that mattered? The first step is admitting you've drifted, and that's harder than it sounds. Because when you admit you're lost, you have to face the fact that you've been lying to yourself for far too long. You have to confront the truth that your life, as it is no longer aligned with the person you were meant to be. But that's not the end of the story. That's the beginning of something new. The realization that you've lost your way isn't a curse, it's a gift. It's the moment you start to wake up to the fact that the life you've been living isn't the one you want to keep. And waking up to that truth is the first step toward reclaiming your soul, your desires, and your power. But being lost doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're buried. You see, we've been taught to fear the feeling of being lost. We've been conditioned to believe that it's a sign of weakness, of failure, of something wrong with us. But that's a lie. The truth is that feeling lost isn't a symptom of brokenness. It's evidence that something in you is still alive. Something in you is still trying to find its way back to its true self. And that's the most powerful thing about it. The part of you that feels lost is the part of you that's still fighting, still searching, still yearning for something more than what this world has told you to settle for. Being lost is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of potential. The parts of you that feel scattered, unsure, uncertain, those are the parts of you that are in the process of waking up. Think about it. When something is buried, it's not gone. It's still there, still intact, still waiting to be uncovered. It's only under the weight of things, expectations, responsibilities, fears, that it gets hidden, forgotten, or neglected. So when you feel lost, don't look at it as a sign that you've failed or lost your way. Look at it as an opportunity to dig deeper, to reconnect with the parts of yourself that have been hidden under all the noise, the parts that are still strong, still wise, still capable of guiding you home. We often think of being lost as a negative state, a place we don't want to be. But what if being lost was the only way we could rediscover ourselves? What if it's not about getting back to where you were, but about finding a new version of yourself, one that is more true, more authentic, more aligned with the person you were always meant to be? Being buried doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been covered by layers of other people's expectations, by the pressures of success, by fears you didn't even know you were carrying. But just like seeds buried in the ground, what's hidden inside you has the potential to break free and rise higher than it ever has before. We all carry buried parts of ourselves. We all have pieces of our past, of our dreams, of our values that got buried under the weight of life's demands. When we go through pain, trauma, or heartbreak, we often bury those experiences deep inside, thinking we're protecting ourselves. But the truth is, those buried parts don't stay buried forever. They resurface. And when they do, it's not a sign that we're falling apart. It's a sign that we're healing. It's a sign that those parts of us that were once broken or bruised are now ready to rise up, ready to be seen, heard, and honored once again. The very things you thought you'd lost forever are still inside of you, waiting for the right moment to break free and guide you forward. There's power in being buried, even if you can't see it right away. When something is buried, it's protected. It's safe. It's not exposed to the elements, to harm, to the world's judgment. And while it's hidden, it's still growing, still developing, still becoming what it was meant to be. The same is true for you. The parts of you that feel lost, the parts of you that feel buried, are not gone. They're simply in a state of transformation. They're gathering strength, gathering clarity, and preparing to emerge in a way that's more powerful than before. So don't be afraid of the times when you feel lost. Don't fear the times when you feel buried. Understand that you're simply in a process of becoming more of who you are, more of who you were always meant to be. And while it's true that being buried can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even suffocating, it's also incredibly necessary. If you want to grow, you have to go through the darkness. Think about the way a seed grows. It must first be planted in the soil, surrounded by darkness, in order to sprout and reach for the light. Without the time in the dark, without being buried, the seed would never have the chance to grow into something beautiful. So when you feel buried, when you feel lost, understand that it's not a punishment. It's a preparation. You're being molded, shaped, and strengthened in ways you can't yet understand. You're being given the space to grow into a version of yourself that is more grounded, more resilient, more powerful than you've ever known. But here's the secret no one tells you. Being buried doesn't mean staying stuck. The ground that has covered you is also the ground that holds you steady. It gives you the support you need to rise. It may feel like you're stuck, like you can't move forward, like you're never going to find your way again. But in reality, you're being held, you're being nurtured. And eventually, when the time is right, you'll break through. You'll rise. you'll stand up and realize that the very things that made you feel lost were the things that actually set you on the path to finding your truest self. You weren't meant to stay buried forever. The very same soil that covered you is what will propel you upward when it's time. And when you rise, you will be stronger, more grounded, and more capable than you ever imagined. The first step out of this fog is not a dramatic breakthrough. It's not some epiphany that suddenly clears everything up. It's the radical, uncomfortable act of being honest with yourself. And I'm talking about a raw, unfiltered honesty that shakes you to your core. The kind of honesty that asks you to confront your deepest fears, your most painful truths, and the parts of you that you've been avoiding. This is the kind of honesty that will make you squirm in your seat, that will make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. But it's also the kind of honesty that will set you free. You cannot move forward until you're willing to look at where you've been, where you are right now, and what's really going on inside of you. You've spent so much of your life trying to protect yourself from the discomfort of facing the truth. You've been wearing masks, pretending and telling yourself that everything is fine when you know deep down it isn't. But here's the thing, as long as you keep hiding from the truth, you stay stuck. You stay trapped in a life that doesn't reflect who you truly are. The first step in reclaiming your life, your joy, and your peace is to be brutally honest with yourself about where you are and how you got here. It's about being willing to ask the hard questions, to admit the things you've been avoiding, and to sit with the discomfort that comes with it. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about giving yourself permission to be real, to be human, and to step into the power of owning your story, however messy or imperfect it may be. The truth might scare you at first, but it will never hurt you more than the lies you've been telling yourself. Because, as much as we resist facing the truth, we're always living with the consequences of avoiding it. When you ignore your truth, you're living a life that doesn't belong to you. You're constantly bending and shaping yourself to fit into a version of the world that isn't aligned with who you truly are. But when you finally get honest with yourself, when you finally stop pretending to be someone you're not, when you finally admit that you've been stuck, that you've been hiding, that you've been ignoring your own needs, you open the door to a life of transformation. A life that isn't based on the expectations of others, but on your own truth. And that's when the real shift begins. Being honest with yourself is not easy. It requires courage. Courage to admit that you've been living inauthentically, courage to recognize the parts of your life that aren't serving you, and courage to face the things that scare you most. But here's the thing, courage doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you're willing to move forward despite the fear. It means you're willing to acknowledge your pain, your uncertainty, and your doubt, but you choose to take the next step anyway. You choose to confront the lies, the fears, and the self-doubt, and you make a decision that no matter how uncomfortable it feels, you are going to walk through it. Because the truth is, the only way to move forward is to face what's holding you back. And that starts with being honest with yourself about where you are right now. You might think you have to have all the answers to move forward. You might think that to change your life, you need a massive, sweeping revelation that will magically fix everything. But that's not how change works. Change comes in small, uncomfortable moments of truth. It comes when you admit to yourself that you've been settling, that you've been living a half life, that you've been choosing the easy way instead of the authentic way. And it's in these moments of raw honesty that you begin to take the first steps toward real change. The truth doesn't come all at once. It comes in pieces, in moments of clarity that cut through the fog. Each moment of honesty is like a brick being removed from the wall that's been keeping you stuck. It's not the big breakthroughs that will change you. It's the willingness to look at the small truths and let them guide you forward. There's power in owning your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When you start being honest with yourself, you take back the control that you thought you'd lost. You stop being a victim of your circumstances, and you start becoming the author of your own story. Being honest with yourself is an act of empowerment. It means you are no longer hiding behind excuses, behind your fears, or behind the opinions of others. You are stepping into your power, owning the choices you've made, and taking responsibility for the direction of your life. You may not have control over everything, but you have control over how you respond. And that starts with the honesty you bring to yourself in every moment. But honesty with yourself isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice. It's about waking up every day and choosing to be real, choosing to listen to your own voice, and choosing to honor your needs, your dreams, and your boundaries. It's about being willing to ask the tough questions again and again. What do I really want? What am I avoiding? What am I afraid to admit to myself? This is the work of lifelong growth. It's not about arriving at a perfect answer, but about committing to a process of continuous self-awareness. Because as you continue to peel back the layers, as you continue to get closer to the truth of who you are, you begin to live with more authenticity, more alignment, and more peace. The first step out of the fog is the hardest, but it's also the most transformative. When you get honest with yourself, you begin to break free from the chains of your own fears, doubts, and limitations. You stop letting the world define who you are and start defining it for yourself. And while it might be uncomfortable, it's the only way forward, because real transformation doesn't come from avoiding the truth. It comes from embracing it. It comes from standing face to face with the raw, unfiltered reality of who you are and saying, "This is me. This is where I am, and I'm ready to move forward, to grow, and to become the person I was always meant to be." You're not meant to stay stuck in the darkness. The darkness, as overwhelming as it may feel, is not your final destination. It's not the end of your story. It's the space in between, the place where everything feels uncertain, where the weight of the world feels like it's pressing down on your chest. But here's the truth. The darkness is not where you're meant to stay. It's not where you're meant to live. The darkness is only temporary. It's the space where you grow, heal, and find your light again. It's where the broken pieces of you are reassembled, where your deepest wounds are transformed into the most powerful sources of strength. And though it may feel endless in the moment, it's not a permanent state. The darkness is just the crucible, the place where the fire refines you into the person you're meant to become. When you're in the dark, it's easy to feel like you're trapped, like you'll never find your way out. It feels like you're lost in an endless night, with no hope of sunrise. But what you need to remember is that darkness is not the absence of light. It's just the temporary absence of clarity. Just because you can't see your way forward right now doesn't mean there's no way forward. The light is always there, even when you can't see it. It's always just beyond the horizon, waiting to break through the clouds. And though you may not be able to see it now, the act of walking through the darkness, of sitting with the uncertainty, of moving forward in faith even when you feel lost, is what allows you to find that light again. It's the journey through the dark that leads you to the place where your light shines brightest. What's important to understand is that the darkness is not a punishment. It's not something you've earned or something you deserve. The darkness is simply a part of the process of transformation. Just like a seed planted in the soil has to spend time in the dark, in the cold, and in the silence before it breaks through the earth and reaches for the sun, you too must pass through the darkness before you can fully bloom. The darkness is where the roots of your growth are nurtured, where you become more resilient, more grounded, and more connected to your true self. Without the darkness, there would be no light. Without the silence, there would be no song. Without the struggle, there would be no strength. You can't have one without the other. And so, even though it feels hard, even though it feels uncomfortable, you must trust that the darkness is not here to defeat you. It's here to prepare you for something greater. In the dark, it's easy to believe that you're broken, that you're flawed, that you're somehow incomplete. But this is where your greatest healing happens. This is where you are reshaped, redefined, and remade. The darkness is not where your story ends. It's where your story takes a new turn, a deeper turn. It's where your past pain is transformed into wisdom, where your struggles are transmuted into strength. You may not be able to see it now, but in time, you will look back on this moment and realize that it was during your darkest days that you became the person you were always meant to be. The pieces of yourself that you thought were broken, the parts of your heart that felt shattered, will become the very source of your power and your light. The darkness is the raw material from which your brilliance is forged. You may wonder, in the middle of the dark, how you'll ever make it through. The weight feels unbearable, the path forward feels impossible. But remember, the darkness isn't meant to crush you. It's meant to stretch you, to push you beyond your limits, to show you just how much strength you have within you. Every time you keep going, every time you choose to take another step forward, even when you don't feel like it, you're building resilience. You're building character. You're building a foundation that will hold you steady when light returns, and when it does, when the sun rises again, you'll see that you are stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever realized. The darkness, though difficult, is where your deepest growth happens. It is the forge in which you are being transformed into something extraordinary.
Truth is, you don't need to have all the answers to get through the darkness. You don't need to know exactly how or when you'll emerge from it. What you need is the willingness to move forward, even when you can't see the way. What you need is the faith that this too shall pass, that the light is just around the corner, that the pain and uncertainty you're feeling right now will eventually give way to clarity and peace. Trust in the process. Trust that even though you're in the dark, you're being guided. Trust that the darkness is temporary and that you are always on your way to something better, something brighter. When you allow yourself to lean into the process of growth, when you embrace the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the unknown, you open yourself up to transformation, and that is where true healing begins. And while the darkness may feel isolating, it's important to remember that you are never truly alone. Even in the most intense periods of struggle, there is always a greater force, whether you call it the universe, God, or your own inner wisdom, that is supporting you, guiding you, and loving you through it. The darkness is not something you have to navigate alone. You are surrounded by light, even when you can't see it. The very fact that you're still here, that you're still moving forward, that you're still searching for the light means that you are connected to something much larger than yourself. And in that connection, you will find the strength to rise again, to heal, and to shine brighter than you ever have before. You are not defined by your past. You are not defined by the mistakes you've made, the things you've lost, or the pain you've carried. It's easy to look at your history and believe that it holds the key to your future. That your past failures, heartbreaks, and regrets will forever shape who you are, but that's not the truth. Your past is not a chain that keeps you bound to the same old story. It's simply a chapter in the greater narrative of your life, and that chapter doesn't have to define you. What defines you is not where you've been, but the strength and courage you have to rise again, to keep moving forward, and to become the person you were always meant to be. So many of us carry the weight of our past with us, dragging it like a shadow that never seems to leave. We let our mistakes define us. Our losses hold us back, and our pain become a lens through which we view the world. But the truth is, your past doesn't get to decide who you are or what you're capable of. You get to decide that. You have the power to redefine yourself, to break free from the narrative that says you're limited by what has already happened. Yes, you've been through difficult times. Yes, you've faced challenges that seemed insurmountable, but that doesn't mean you're doomed to stay stuck in that place. You have the ability to rise above it, to step into the next chapter of your life with a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. The real question isn't whether you've made mistakes. It's whether you're willing to learn from them, to grow, and to keep going. We all make mistakes. We all fall short at times, but those moments don't have to be the defining moments of your life. What truly defines you is your ability to rise again. It's your willingness to take what you've learned from your past, whether it's pain, loss, or failure, and use it to fuel your growth, to propel you forward toward the person you're becoming. Your past doesn't have to hold you hostage. It can be the stepping stone that catapults you into the future you deserve, but only if you're willing to let go of the belief that it has power over you. So often, we hold on to the story of our past because it feels safer, more comfortable than facing the unknown. The pain we carry can feel like a part of us, something that we don't know how to live without. But holding on to your past is like trying to walk forward while looking over your shoulder. You can't move ahead when your focus is stuck on what's behind you. The past will always be a part of you, but it doesn't have to be your focus. Your focus needs to be on who you're becoming, on the person you are right now, and the potential that lies ahead of you. You are not stuck. You are not bound by what's already happened.
The future is still unwritten, and you have the power to shape it. Your past can only define you if you allow it to, and even then, you have the power to rewrite the narrative, the pain you've experienced, the challenges you've faced. They don't have to be the story that defines you. They're simply the chapters that have shaped you into the person you are today. What matters now is what you do with that story. Do you let the mistakes and losses define your worth, or do you choose to use them as fuel for your journey? Do you let them keep you stuck, or do you let them motivate you to keep going? The choice is yours. The power is in your hands to create the next chapter of your life. We often think of ourselves as the sum total of our past, but in reality, we are much more than that. You are not just the things you've done, the decisions you've made, or the mistakes you've suffered. You are a complex, evolving person with the capacity to change, to grow, and to become something greater than you've ever imagined. The person you were yesterday is not the person you have to be today. You are not defined by the labels the world has placed on you or the stories you've told yourself. You are defined by your willingness to step into your own power, to embrace the lessons of the past, and to move forward with an open heart and an open mind. The truth is, you are defined by your ability to rise again, to dust yourself off after every fall, to get up when the world knocks you down, and to keep going even when it feels like everything is against you. That is what true strength is made of. It's not about avoiding failure or escaping pain. It's about having the courage to face it, to learn from it, and to use it as a catalyst for your own transformation. It's about recognizing that no matter what has happened before, you are never too broken to heal. You are never too lost to be found. Your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to determine your future. Your future is determined by the choices you make today, by the actions you take in this moment, and by your willingness to rise above the pain of yesterday. In the end, you are defined by one thing and one thing only, your willingness to rise again. It's not about perfection. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about the courage to face what's ahead, the strength to overcome whatever obstacles lie in your path, and the determination to keep moving forward, no matter what. And when you choose to rise, when you choose to take that first step toward a brighter future, you take back your power, you take back your story, and you become the person you were always meant to be. The most important work you will ever do is the work you do on yourself. It's not about external success, status, or the approval of others. It's about inner work, the work that nobody sees but that transforms everything. We spend so much time focusing on the outside world, our jobs, our relationships, our image, our achievements. We strive for the things we think will make us happy, to find the success that we believe will fill the emptiness. But the truth is, no amount of external validation can heal the wounds inside. No amount of external success can bring you peace if you haven't done the deep work within. The most important work of your life is the work you do in the quiet of your own soul, in the depths of your own heart, where you begin to heal, grow, and truly know yourself. For too long, many of us wait for something outside of ourselves to change. Someone to notice us, to love us, to validate our worth, or some event to occur that will make everything better. We think that if we just had the right circumstances, the right partner, the right job, or the right opportunity, everything would finally click. But here's the hard truth. If you're waiting for something or someone to change in order for your life to get better, you'll be waiting forever. The power to transform your life is not in the hands of others, and it's not in the circumstances outside of you. It lies within you. The change you're looking for begins when you stop waiting and start looking inward. It starts when you take responsibility for your own growth, for your own happiness, and for your own journey. The work on yourself is uncomfortable. It requires you to face the parts of you that you'd rather ignore, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, the hurts. It requires you to confront the ways you've been holding yourself back, the beliefs that are limiting you, and the patterns that have kept you stuck. This work isn't glamorous or easy. It's messy, raw, and often painful, but it is also the most rewarding work you'll ever do. Because when you start to heal the parts of you that have been broken, when you begin to release the self-limiting beliefs and fears that have been holding you hostage, you make space for the most powerful version of yourself to emerge. And when that version of you steps into the world, everything around you changes. When you start doing the work on yourself, you stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to live your best life.
You stop waiting for external circumstances to change in order for you to feel fulfilled. Instead, you take ownership of your life and your choices. You realize that no one else can do the work for you, and no one else has the power to give you the life you desire. Only you have the power to create the life you want. That's the beauty of personal growth. It's entirely in your hands. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone's validation. The moment you realize that, you become unstoppable. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is your own willingness to show up for yourself, to do the work, and to commit to your own transformation. The work you do on yourself doesn't just impact you. It impacts everyone around you. When you heal, when you grow, when you step into your power, you create ripple effects that touch every aspect of your life. You become a more compassionate partner, a more patient parent, a more understanding friend. You show up differently in the world because you are different, and that difference, that shift in your energy, has the power to inspire others to do the same. When you stop waiting for someone else to change, when you take responsibility for your own life, you become a living example of what's possible. You show others that they too have the power to change, to heal, and to transform their own lives. The work on yourself is never just about you. It's about how your growth elevates everyone around you. One of the most powerful aspects of the work on yourself is the realization that you are not broken and you do not need to be fixed. So often, we think that the work is about repairing something that is wrong with us, that we are damaged, unworthy, or incapable. But the truth is, you are not broken. You are simply in the process of becoming. The work on yourself is not about fixing something that is wrong with you, but about releasing the things that no longer serve you. It's about shedding the layers of fear, doubt, and self-limiting beliefs that have accumulated over time, and rediscovering the truth of who you really are. You are worthy, you are enough, and you have everything you need within you to create the life you desire. Change begins with you. It starts the moment you decide that you are ready to do the work, to confront the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, and to step into the person you're meant to become. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a straight line. The process is messy, it's non-linear, and it's often painful, but it's also incredibly beautiful. Every small step you take toward healing, growth, and self-discovery is a victory. Every time you choose to show up for yourself, do the hard work of transformation, you're moving closer to the person you're meant to be. And as you become more of who you truly are, the world around you shifts. Opportunities open up, relationships deepen, and your life becomes a reflection of the work you've done within. The most important work you will ever do is the work you do on yourself. When you stop waiting for someone or something to change, and instead focus on your own growth, everything in your life begins to transform. You have the power to create the life you want. You have the power to heal, to grow, and to step into your fullest potential, but it starts with you. The choice is yours. Will you wait for change to come from the outside, or will you become the change you seek by doing the work within? And so, as you stand at the crossroads of where you've been and where you're going, remember this: the most powerful transformation begins within you. You are the catalyst for change, the one who holds the power to break free from the stories of the past and step boldly into the future. The journey may be difficult at times, and the work may feel overwhelming, but every step forward is a victory. You have everything you need inside you to create the life you desire. All it takes is the courage to start, the commitment to keep going, and the belief that you are worthy of the transformation you seek. The truth is, the work you do on yourself is not just about healing. It's about thriving. It's about becoming the person who is capable of facing life's challenges with strength, grace, and unwavering belief in their own power. It's about stepping into your life as a creator, not a victim, taking ownership of your story, and knowing that you are the author of what comes next. So, take the first step, trust in the process, embrace the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the growth that will follow. The life you are capable of living is on the other side of the work you do today. Change begins with you, and with every moment you dedicate to yourself, you are stepping closer to the life you deserve. The work is yours to do, and the transformation is waiting for you.